January the 26th. Today's episode is dedicated to my friend Gillian, mainly because I've heard of her when 2 days ago I read an article in National Geographic about the completed mapping of Rio-a-Maui, or Zealandia. Zealandia is a big chunk of continental crust, now nearly completely submerged under the South Pacific Ocean. We are talking about 1.9 million square miles. 5% of those are still above sea level, and we know them as New Zealand, New Caledonia, and some islands in front of the Australian state. Zealandia once formed a land bridge between Antarctica and Australia. About 100 million years ago, they broke apart and Zealandia slowly sank into the sea. It's fascinating. But that's not the only reason why I bring it up here. Because there's an even more mind-boggling aspect to this. And this involves the effort to track down when external data started to really become a big piece of a human existence. If we are made to deal with information, as I suggest here constantly, and our feeling of overwhelm is born not from being forced to do so today so much, but doing it wrongly, it should have been part of a human experience from the very beginning. I've mentioned before that the Aboriginal people of Australia settled across the continent from upwards of 50,000 years ago. Many groups developed sophisticated techniques for maintaining collective knowledge. In southern Australia, the Chap Wurrung, and I apologize if I said it wrong, people maintained a story about a specific hunt that took place for a species of giant bird that stood as much as 2 meters high and that lived until perhaps 30,000 to 10,000 years ago. The story was specific enough so that modern geologists were able to confirm the tale's historical timeline. Other stories, told and passed down across some 400 generations by several Aboriginal people, track a 60-meter sea level rise witnessed by dozens of generations across the shorelines of Australia some 10,000 years ago. We are talking here about the Holocene sea level rise between about 12,000 to 7,000 years ago, when the ice of the Ice Age melted. The now submerged islands these stories describe have been precisely identified today during the mapping of Zealandia. In other words, we have proof that more than 10,000 years ago, we humans were not just already gathering and storing data and information in our heads. We put so much importance in it that we had developed a highly effective error correction system for our precious data that involved a kin-based cultural responsibility to fact-check each other and keep memories acute. Beyond oral traditions, we also find our need to deal with information and store them in everything from cave art, knotwork like the South American quipu, and cuneiform methods of writing to movable types and computers. We want to use what we know as a scaffolding to the next big idea. Shutting us off from the flow is like stopping to be a human. Thinking is the way to go, so make a habit of thinking again. If you like what I do, or only because I amuse you, share my clips. To follow the suggestion and make thinking a habit again, use my daily prompts to start. See you tomorrow.